Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. Tonight, we bring you a roundup of global news that's making headlines. From the escalating tensions in Ukraine to the ongoing Iran war, our top stories will take you on a journey across the world. We'll delve into the pressure on Putin to escalate the conflict, the sharp spike in oil prices, and the latest developments in Washington as Trump's 60-day Iran war mark approaches. Let's get started with the news that matters most to you tonight. As tensions in Eastern Europe continue to escalate, Russia's actions are raising alarm bells around the world, prompting a fresh assessment of President Putin's strategy. Pressure builds on Putin to escalate Ukraine war as Russian hawks lose patience. Mounting frustration within Russia's war party is putting pressure on Vladimir Putin to take a more aggressive stance in Ukraine, according to sources close to the Kremlin. The increasingly vocal opposition to Putin's cautious approach has raised concerns that Moscow may be on the cusp of escalating its military involvement in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine has been ongoing for nearly 2 years, with Russia claiming a series of minor victories, but ultimately failing to achieve its main objective of overthrowing the Ukrainian government. Western powers have maintained a policy of supporting Ukraine without directly engaging Russian forces, in an effort to avoid drawing Moscow into a broader conflict. As the situation on the ground remains fluid, some analysts believe that Russia's military leadership is becoming increasingly frustrated with Putin's restraint. The Kremlin has long argued that it needs time to modernize its armed forces and prepare for potential future conflicts. But mounting pressure from within the Russian establishment suggests that patience may be wearing thin. The stakes are high, as escalation could draw in NATO and lead to a wider conflict involving some of the world's most powerful military forces. U.S. President Joe Biden has repeatedly warned Putin against further aggression, while European leaders are bracing for potential economic disruption if Russia were to launch a major assault on Ukraine. As tensions continue to build, it remains to be seen whether Putin will cave to pressure from his own war party or stick to his cautious approach. As tensions escalate in the Middle East and global markets take notice, we now turn to the latest developments from Washington. The Iran war has reached new heights, with oil prices soaring to a 4-year high of $4.39 a gallon in the U.S., according to AAA. The war's impact on global markets continues to be felt, as crude oil shipments remain severely curtailed due to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has vowed to protect the country's nuclear and missile capabilities despite international pressure. This stance is in direct conflict with President Trump's efforts to curb Iran's military ambitions through airstrikes and a wider deal to stabilize the war-torn region. The economic consequences of this standoff are severe. Iran's 90 million people have been cut off from the internet for most of 2026, one of the world's longest national shutdowns. This has devastated an online economy that had long defied government restrictions and international sanctions. Many industries, including fashion, fitness, and advertising, have seen their incomes evaporate. According to Afshin Kalahi, a member of Iran's Chamber of Commerce, the internet cutoff cost the economy an estimated $30 to $40 million daily, with indirect losses likely twice that much. Sattar Hashemi, the communications minister, estimates that around 10 million people have jobs that depend on internet connectivity. As tensions continue to escalate, lawmakers in Washington are turning their attention to the war's impact on American consumers. Hegseth, a member of Congress, is facing intense scrutiny for his handling of the crisis. With the situation unfolding rapidly, one thing is clear: the Iran war is having far-reaching consequences that will be felt for months to come. As tensions with Iran escalate, a prominent Democratic senator is now calling for diplomatic efforts to prevent all-out conflict. A senior Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Jeanne Shaheen, has urged the Trump administration to shift towards diplomacy with Iran as the conflict reached its 60th day. This comes as tensions between the U.S. and Iran continue to escalate, with the war having a devastating impact on the global economy and civilians. The U.S. launched strikes on Iran on February 28th, followed by retaliation from Tehran against Israel and U.S. allies in the Gulf. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a critical waterway for global shipping, has been particularly disruptive. A 2-week ceasefire was announced through Pakistani mediation on April 8th, but no lasting truce was reached. Shaheen's statement comes as the War Powers Act requires the administration to either end hostilities or justify extending them to Congress and the public. With the conflict showing no signs of abating, Shaheen is calling for a serious diplomatic path forward. The human cost of the war has been significant, with 13 U.S. service members killed and tens of thousands at risk across the region. Energy prices have also risen as a result of the conflict, adding to the economic burden on Americans. The Trump administration's approach has been widely criticized, with many questioning its strategy and lack of clear exit plan. Shaheen is urging President Trump to put an end to the war and pursue diplomacy, which she believes will bring about lasting peace and prosperity for the American people. The fate of this conflict remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. The U.S. needs a new approach if it hopes to find a way out of this costly and devastating war. Meanwhile, tensions escalate as U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a significant warning about Iran's peace overtures, sparking concerns about a prolonged conflict. The White House has officially told Congress that hostilities with Iran have terminated, despite the continued presence of U.S. troops in the Middle East. This statement comes as a surprise to many, given the ongoing tensions between the United States and Iran. According to reports, the Iranian government had offered a ceasefire, but U.S. President Donald Trump expressed unhappiness with this proposal. It is not clear what specific concerns Trump has, but it's worth noting that the U.S. and Iran have been at odds over issues including regional security and the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal. The statement made by the White House suggests that the conflict is now over, but many are questioning the accuracy of this claim. The continued presence of U.S. troops in the region raises concerns about the potential for further escalation. The situation remains fluid, with both sides still holding significant military capabilities. The international community will be watching closely as events unfold. We'll continue to provide updates on this developing story as more information becomes available. It's worth noting that while the conflict appears to have ended hostilities, many questions remain unanswered. What exactly does the White House mean by terminated? How will the U.S. ensure its troops are safe in the region? These concerns will need to be addressed as the situation continues to evolve. As a global community watches on with growing concern, Iran is dealing with another crisis that sparked widespread international condemnation and alarm tonight. Iran has executed a 21-year-old Iranian karate champion on charges of murder and armed robbery. The execution comes as the United Nations has warned of a surge in death penalty cases worldwide. The young athlete, identified by his initials as MM, was arrested in 2019 for allegedly murdering two men during a fight. He claimed the incident was an accident and that he had been acting in self-defense. However, prosecutors said he had intentionally attacked the victims. Human rights groups have condemned the execution, saying it sets a tragic precedent for Iran's record on human rights abuses. The Iranian government has maintained that the death penalty is necessary to maintain law and order. The UN has reported a significant increase in executions globally over the past decade, with 2019 seeing the highest number of executions since records began. This year, at least 10 countries have already carried out more than 100 executions combined. Iran has been one of the countries with the highest number of executions per capita in recent years. The UN says that death penalty is a serious human rights concern and calls for its abolition worldwide. In this case, MM's family said they had appealed his sentence to the Iranian Supreme Court, but were told it would be upheld. His execution was carried out on October 22nd in the city of Shiraz. That's all for today's news recap. We'll continue to monitor the situation in Ukraine and Iran and bring you updates as more information becomes available. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay up to date on the latest global news, please consider subscribing to our channel. We'll have more analysis and insights in the days ahead. Until next time, good night.